All right. Welcome back to Business of Numerology Masterclass. And I am calling it Business of Numerology because I'm going to use numerology as an example. But I'm also going to share this content with you, whether or not you're a numerologist, how you would apply this. Because in the 10 years now that I've been working as a business coach, as a coach, as an intuitive, I started my business 10 years ago. So in whatever iteration it was, starting out as a business coach and then becoming a numerology teacher, these are the critical pieces that people need in their business. And I'm going to share 6 pieces with you, and I'm going to explain how numerology would support you to implement them. Or if you don't use numerology, that's fine. But think about what the thing is and use whatever modality, product, service you have instead. These 6 things, you're not likely going to be able to implement them all at once. That would be crazy. I'll tell you where to start depending on which stage you're at in your business, and you'll kind of know. You're like, yep, I've done that. Nope, I haven't done that. So you'll have a sense of where to start and what to focus on. What else do I want to say about that? Does anybody have any questions about that? This masterclass is a lot of teaching. So you're going to want to make sure you've got your pen and your paper handy. And this is one of those ones, like I said, where people tend to rewatch it over and over again, because as you grow your business, you'll be ready for the next piece. Right. And, as you grow your business, there might also be this situation where you have an evolution, right? Where some of the pieces you put in place in the beginning and they worked really well to support you to reach a certain stage. And then it's like, okay, what's the next piece I'm going to need to implement? Does anyone have any questions before we get started? I am just diving right in today. Hello, everyone. Feel free to say hi in the comments, in the chat. Let me know, were you here for the other days? I know that there's some people who are literally just coming for today's call. So if you're here for the other days, let me know. And if not, that's totally fine too. Like I said, this content is content that I really want to share and get out there in as many ways as possible, because one of my personal passions and personal mission is that people who have soul gifts to share, people who are here to make a difference in the world, through their gifts, through their magic, through their intuition, through energy, are supported financially to do so. And it kills me when people struggle in that department. Like, we deserve to be financially supported. And when we are financially supported, it really enhances the difference we're able to make in our world. Yay, I'm so happy you guys are all here. Day 3, wonderful. Okay, let's dive in. So, you guys ready for step number 1? Before we get started, I just want to actually take a second to make sure we're all grounded in and connected into your body. So this information, I want to let you know something about learning strategy. As a person who's attuned to energy, you actually have a superpower when it comes to learning information, which is you actually are able to take it in at the energetic level, should you choose to do so. In order to do that, it's really important to be landed and grounded in your body so that your body is receiving the information as well as your brain, right? It's not just about being in our brains today. Okay, so in order to do that, I want you to just take a second and land into your body. And so for me, that looks like wiggling into my seat for a second. That looks like rolling out my shoulders a little bit, maybe tapping my feet on the ground and like crackling my ankles a little bit, twisting my hips in my chair, making sure that every part of my body is awake and alive and on board. I might tap my thighs a little bit, touch my legs a little bit, stretch out my neck. The shoulders are really wanting to be rolled out, and you just do whatever it feels that you need to do to stay connected to your whole being so that you're receiving this information at the energetic level, physical level, as well as intellectual level. So let's take a breath in through the nose together. Releasing through the mouth. We'll do 2 more together, in through the nose, out through the mouth. One more. Out through the mouth. Okay. It's a little bit better. Hey, let's do it. Oh my gosh. All these people having birthdays. Happy birthday, James. I know there was another birthday the other day. I think it was Gretchen and Alexa's birthday tomorrow. How fun. So good. Okay, let's dive in. Pen and paper handy. I'm going to share with you 6 steps that you need to have in your business to support financial structure, financial stability, abundance, wealth, prosperity, whatever word you want to use. These are the 6 things that you need to have in your business, that you need to implement in your business to feel financially secure doing your work. A lot of energy workers struggle to create a financially sustainable business, and it's just because they resist some of these like strategies. And the strategies do not have to be at odds with your intuition. In fact, the strategies should honor them and you should use them together, right? You should use them together. Use your superpower. Okay. So step number 1 is you need a way to attract clients. Okay. So if I have somebody able to type in the chat for me, just to keep us focused, step number 1 is a client attraction strategy that is leveraged. Okay. Client attraction strategy that is leveraged. And so what that means is I need to have a way to reach large groups of people, for them to get to know me, to get to know who I am and what I'm about, for them to understand what I do, how I do it, how I support people, the difference I make, if I'm for them, like if I'm their cup of tea or not, right? If they resonate with my way of being in the world. One of the things as energy workers that's really important is, when someone chooses to work with you, they're choosing to work with you because there's a values alignment. There's something about who you are that they love, believe in, and maybe aspire to experience an aspect of that, right? And so it's important that they have a chance to kind of like feel that out first. You wouldn't just the yellow pages don't exist anymore, I don't think, but if they did exist, making myself sound pretty old right now, probably. If the yellow pages did exist, you do not hire an energy worker off the yellow pages. No one does that. They want to understand who you are. They want to get a sense of what is your energy like? How do you help people? What's the difference you make, right? They want to get to know you. And so having a leveraged client attraction strategy where you can share your work to a large group of people and they can get a sense as to who you are is critical. Now, a lot of people do this through, social media or email marketing or video content or YouTube's, networking in your local community, joining referral groups. There's lots of ways to do this. But what is a way that allows you to be unique and to stand out and to constantly have ways to share what it is you do? And one of the things I love, love, love about numerology is that you can always have content if you're working with the energies. You can look at the energy of the day. You can look at the energy of the month. You can look at the energy of the year. You can look at patterns that are unfolding. And there's 2 ways you can do this. Number 1, there's a lot of us who do this here. I do it. Kasha does it. Anne-Marie does it. I know there's a lot of people who do this here. So feel free to follow any of us to check out how we do it. But you can, number 1, do it openly and saying, I am doing an energy forecast, or let's talk about the energy of the day, or whatever, right? Like, this is a numerology forecast. This is a numerology energy, whatever, and name it something that fits in your niche. Okay. That's number 1. Number 2 is you can share the energies without saying you're doing it based on the numbers. Okay. So you can look at the energy of the day, right? So whatever the energy happens to be, and you can take the lesson out of it, right? So you guys have heard me talk a lot about the 7 energy year needing to be about taking a risk, taking a leap of faith, trying something new, and navigating in the unknown. I could teach to those points and never say I used numerology to come up with them, right? If someone were to run a series right now or a challenge right now on how do I move through the unknown, That is brilliant. And that's what a lot of people are going to need. Of course, that's my languaging. So you're going to want to think about what's the languaging that resonates with my client. I know Kasha just ran a self-trust boot camp. And the whole reason she ran a self-trust boot camp was because she knew that in a 7 energy year, people need to learn how to trust themselves to take risks. That's critical. So she could run an entire program on building trust. And that's part of what she teaches in her programs, right? So you can use the energy to get a sense of what's happening. And number one, speak to it directly, or number two, speak to it kind of indirectly by taking the lesson and speaking to that. And this is a leveraged way to connect with your clients because you will always have something to talk about. You can do written, short form, long form, video, whatever way content speaks to you. You could do it daily. You could do it as much as you want. Okay. And it's one to many, meaning it's going to resonate with large groups of people, right? Okay, so step number one. Okay. Yes, I love that. And somebody is putting in the comments here. Anne-Marie is putting in the comments. She knows her soulmate clients struggle with this. So when you study numerology, one of the things I'm going to teach you how to do is how to determine who your soulmate clients are. You can learn this for yourself, and you can also learn it to share with your clients. When you understand what your soulmate clients struggle with, you know what to share with them. And you know what repeating message they need to hear over and over and over and over again. They can never get enough of it. Like when you know what your soulmate client struggles with, they want to hear that times a million. You could talk about it every day, right? And give them the solutions every day, and they would want more. Okay, so leveraged. Okay, point number 2. I want to try to make sure that I'm like giving you all the 6 points. So this is point number 2. And point number 2 is intimate client attraction. Okay. And so when I say intimate, I mean like one-on-one. Okay. How do I connect with my clients one-on-one? And back in the day of coaching, I've been doing this for a while. We used to do discovery calls. Okay. And you would put a discovery call out there and you would get a flood of people being like, I want to book in with you. Sure. I want free coaching. Yes. I want a discovery call. It's not so easy anymore. Why is that? Because they've lost their value. People don't value something if they don't understand why it's going to benefit and serve them. People aren't going to hop on a free coaching call anymore unless, number one, they love, trust, and respect the coach and think the coach is brilliant. Or number two, there's a very clear value proposition that's been made, right? And so when you're looking to get traction, and you're looking to get practice and looking to get experience, it's like, how do I get those one-on-one conversations that can result in a booked client? And this is where mini numerology blueprints are freaking genius, right? So I teach a form of a mini numerology report. We call them mini blueprints around here. And it's just like a quick back of the napkin, back of the envelope calculation that you can do with your client. And it's really cool because it's illuminating. It helps them to understand who they are. And the most powerful way I find to use these is if you use them in conjunction with what your soulmate client struggles with. So let's just say, for example, your soulmate client struggles to believe they're worthy of love. Okay. And that's like, you're a love coach or relationship coach, whatever. And they're like, they struggle to believe they're worthy of love. If you delivered a mini numerology reading to help them to understand what it is within their nature that makes them divine, that makes them unique, that makes them, whatever wording. I mean, I'm using my wording because I don't know what your wording would be, but whatever would be the thing that they most desire, right? What makes them an amazing partner? What makes them an amazing friend? What makes them good at community? Like whatever it is that they're looking for, you can see that through the lens of their code. And so it's a whole different story to be like, do you want a free coaching call? Or would you like a call to look through the lens of your energy to understand the pathways to love for you? And that is something you can do for free through the numerology code. And you can have that conversation in 20 minutes, half an hour. If you want to do an hour-long call, that's totally fine. But if you wanted to keep them to a half an hour call, I have done these on the back of the envelope in a coffee shop. I have done these on an airplane. On my 40th birthday, my sisters and I flew to Costa Rica to celebrate. And I started doing my sister's chart on the airplane for her. And the lady next to me was like, hey, what are you doing? And I'm like, oh, numerology. She's like, oh, do me next. I'm like, okay. I ended up doing like a handful of people's charts on the airplane. And they're all like, oh, we're going to follow you on Instagram, da, 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 right? Got my handle, the whole thing. I'm like, this is so natural, easy, and intriguing, right? Oh my God, Anne-Marie, thank you for reminding me of that. So I did that with a politician. So this woman, I was with my friend, and we were staying at this beautiful resort just an hour out of town called Sparkling Hills. I don't know if some of you guys know it, but it's like this Swarovski crystal resort covered in sparkles. It's so beautiful. And we're sitting in the dining room, and I'm doing tarot and numerology with my friend in the dining room. And the lady next to us starts asking us about it and asks if she could have a reading. Turns out she's running for mayor for the city of Edmonton. And we did a great big reading for her on this. And oh, it was so fun. But she was like, oh my gosh, so do you guys do like advising and this and that? And we're like, absolutely. Right. So there's always opportunities where you can support people. Okay, so that's number 2, is an intimate client attraction strategy, a way to get a conversation one-on-one with someone where you can understand what's up with them, what are their challenges, and do you have what they need to support them, right? And when I look at someone's chart, I can tell right away if this is somebody who needs what I have, who needs what I'm sharing. And my favorite example to use with this is Anne-Marie. All of her clients have all the ones. And so if she does a chart for someone and she sees multiple ones, she's like, this is someone I can help. I understand the challenges and the opportunities associated with this kind of chart, right? And I know, what you're going to be feeling, because this is like a soulmate client situation, right? So understanding how you can help clients one-on-one in that type of sales call, where it's not going to just be like a generic call that no one wants to show up for. Okay. So that was number 2. Are you guys ready for number 3? Any questions so far? I know I'm going fast, but I want to make sure I get through all 6 points. There's 2 kinds of numerology. Marissa's asking, are the charts generated with your program? There's 2 kinds of numerology that I'm going to be teaching you guys. One of the kinds is all formulas and calculations, back of the envelope. You don't need anything. You just need a pencil and a piece of paper, and that's it. They're simple math. They're not complicated. Okay. Those are the ones I recommend doing when it's like the coffee shop calculation, the discovery call situation, that kind of thing. Okay. They are incredibly illuminating, but they are very simple to work with. These are also the types of relationship with numbers that you would help people understand when they're seeing certain sequences, right? Like somebody was mentioning they saw 1, 2, 3, or 11, 11, or whatever, that kind of thing. This system is how you really can interpret number sequences and number patterns. The more complicated system is the one that I shared with you this week, where I wrote it all out for you guys, called Light Codes. Okay. That has 52 different archetypes because it follows the playing card system, or the playing card system follows that, is actually more accurate. But there's 52 archetypes. I do not memorize them. I don't, in terms of, what's the formula, what's the number for this day, and what's the number for that person. I do not memorize them. There is a formula that I'll teach you. I'll teach you to calculate it manually. But there's also software that calculates everything automatically for us. Okay. So it's calculated automatically in the software. But what you will learn how to do is see a card in front of you, 2 of hearts, let's say, and instantly know, based on your intuition and the structure I've given you, what the 2 of hearts means. You do not need a reference for that. You might need the reference to figure out, like, oh, what's this person's Pluto? What's this person's Mercury? What's this person's, that kind of stuff. You might need the software for that and the books for that. But to know, if someone says to you, like, for example, if I say to my numerologist, it's my birthday coming up, I'm going to be having a 5 of diamonds Pluto and a 5 of clubs result, they're all instantly having a sense of, what does the 5 of diamonds mean? What is the guidance around that? What are the challenges associated? What are the opportunities associated with that? They could probably all give me, like, here's what you should do this year. Here's a journaling prompt. Here's a suggestion. Like, consider this, consider that. Here's an opportunity. Here's a pitfall, right? Like, I mean, that's the sense that they will feel into very quickly based on just hearing that 5 of diamonds, 5 of clubs, that kind of thing. So yes, there are 2 systems I will be teaching you in alchemy, right? You will learn 2 systems, a quick and easy one, and then a much more complicated one that gives you very in-depth information. Okay. Yes, Anne-Marie's on a mission to remember all of them. I love that. I did not create this system. I did not create this system. This system is an ancient system that is said to have originated in Atlantis. The system, that the light code system itself is very, very ancient. And I'll go into some of the history about it when I teach it. But I'll be able to give you guys access to the original texts with it, or as original as it can get. And then also the Atlantean teachings around it, we access intuitively. So that's another way that I'll be able to teach you kind of how to tap in. That's something that you can do, right? So we basically can go into a meditation and channel the information and the energy from the Atlantean teachings of the system. And we also have books and software and reference material to bring them together. Okay. My goal when I teach people is that you have the structures of the formulas, and then your intuition allows you to speak to the energy. And I think this is really, really, really important, because many of these systems were developed thousands and thousands of years ago. The references that we use, the one reference is well over 100 years old. The other reference is written in the 90s. And energy is not the same. Things have changed, things have shifted. So if we only rely on the author's interpretations, it creates a limit, because number one, they're seeing the material through their own eyes, just like I am, right? Just like I hope you will. They're seeing it through their own eyes, their own lens. They're filtering it through their code, their understanding, their life experiences. Most of the numerology texts were written by men a long time ago. That was one experience. There are reasons why it's not complete in this moment. There are gaps, right? And this is one of the things I've been really excited about. More and more of the Atlantean teachings coming through is because the Atlantean teachings bring back the goddess energy into the system that was stripped of this system many years ago, right? It brings it back. So it didn't need to have been separated, that it could be merged together. It's not that we throw pieces away, it's that we enrich it, right? So yes, it's an ancient system. I'm just looking through the comments. Yes, there is a recording going to go out today. Yeah, somebody's asking about if the descriptions don't match. And this is something we go into in depth in the training, because I'm only sharing one piece of someone's chart with you guys. There is like dozens of places to look in someone's chart. And honestly, if I look at my code and I had looked at it 10 plus years ago, more than 10 years ago, I would have told you were nuts, that was absolutely not me, because I was living in such a way where I had been conditioned to show up in a certain energy, and it wasn't necessarily fulfilling and rewarding to me, but it was how I'd been taught and conditioned was the right way to show up, to succeed, to whatever. And as soon as I started exploring, like, well, could this be me? You know, would I want this to be me? Would I enjoy this? And trying on pieces that were from my actual code, I was like, oh my God, this is so much better, right? Like, it opened up a whole doorway of possibility to me. Okay, let's get back to the 6 steps. So we're on step number 3. Okay. Step number 3 is an accessibly priced product. Okay. An accessibly priced product, a product that is not like cost prohibitive for your client. It's got to be something that's an easy yes for people. Okay. Now, there's lots of schools of thought as to how to set up your structure of your business. So I'm going to speak to the one that I think, well, number 1, worked for me. Number 2 has worked for dozens and dozens of clients that I've taught. Number 3 is the one that's the easiest to create when you have a small list. A lot of people teaching different models are looking at people with a larger list size. And I try to teach to people who are at the space of like, I don't know, like maybe I have 1,000 connections, or maybe I have, whatever. You don't need a massive list for this to work. Okay. And if you have a massive list, this will still work, right? Like it's totally fine. But step number 3 is accessibly priced product. So having a product in the price range of, say, like the cheapest would be like 50, 60 and up to maybe like 150. Okay. So somewhere between the price point of like $50 to like $150. What that price point is going to depend on you, your client base, your market, your confidence, your ability to position it and market it, all of that. In numerology, this is where we would go and do a chart for someone. This is where you would do someone's personality chart. Okay. So you would have an understanding of who they are, how their energy works, what their gifts are, what their challenges are, what their contribution is, their purpose, why they're meant to be here, what they're meant to share, some of their struggles, some of their pitfalls, some of their blind spots. These are incredibly powerful energy sessions that typically take about an hour to deliver. But while I say that, everyone's going to find their own way. Some people don't want to be on a call for an hour. We just had someone in our community the other day saying that they had this beautiful light bulb moment, that they wanted to deliver the calls in a different way and then follow it up with voice memo support afterwards. Great, right? Some people will do a written PDF. I personally don't like doing a written PDF. So to me, it's all about our conversation. Some people don't like the conversation. They'd rather send an audio voice memo. I do that usually once a year. I'll do audio voice memo readings about once a year because I can do them a little faster and I can charge a lower price point for them, right? Whereas like a one-on-one call with me reading, I charge more for that. The thing about these accessibly priced products is, number one, they give you a chance to practice your skill. They give you a chance to get in front of people who don't know you yet and need to build a relationship with you first in an accessible way, right? Paying you between $50 to $150 is not going to hurt anybody if they decide you're not the right person for them. It's for those people who are cautious and need to like get to know you before they say yes. But it's also for you to build your body of work. Because like, how do you think Anne-Marie realized that her clients all had all the ones? It's because she did a million charts, right? What got me amazing at doing intuitive work was there was one year, it was, I don't know, maybe about 5 years ago now, that I did fall markets, and I would do numerology charts on the spot, pen and paper at a market. Okay. Like a craft fair type thing. And, I can't remember what I charged, like $30 or $40 or whatever it was. And I did like, I don't know, 6, 7 readings, 8 readings a day, like for however many days that I did those markets, like every Saturday or whatever the heck it was in the fall. It wasn't necessarily the most brilliant, like money-making venture. I didn't come out of it rich, but what I came out of it doing was knowing so clearly how easy, potent, and powerful my readings were. I also came out of it with a whole bunch of new connections, a whole bunch of new friendships, relationships with the other vendors, connections with the clients in front of me, people saying, I love this so much, I'm going to book one in for my daughter. Can I get one online for my daughter? And follow-up bookings because of it. So recognizing that your accessibly priced product is not about making you a millionaire. It's about attraction and an entry point into your business. And if you don't have that and you're struggling to fill some higher priced products, it's something to consider, right? It's something to consider. A lot of people will have kind of a love-hate relationship with that. And that's totally fine. But just thinking about like, what are your goals? What do I want? And, what is going to be the next step that gets me there? Okay. Step 3. That was step 3. Any questions about that? The other thing that you can do, this is maybe a sub point on step 3 with this, is charging more. I would charge more than 150 for these, but charging a little bit more, you can do energy forecasts. And again, the price point isn't dependent on anything other than your confidence, your comfort level, your client market, and your experience with positioning products at different prices, right? That's literally what determines price point. I don't know about you guys, but I know I bought courses that were thousands of dollars that I got the same amount of value out of as a course I spent like $300 on. So it's not always going to indicate, sometimes it does, but it doesn't always indicate exactly what was received. So forecasting, I tend to charge more for. I think it's incredibly valuable and incredibly powerful. And forecasting is when you look ahead at someone's year. You can look at a week, you can look at a month, a year, you can look at longer, shorter, whatever time frame you want, and get a sense as to what the energy patterns that are unfolding, to give them guidance as to what their next steps are, as to how to leverage the energy, as to when is optimal timing for things, as to what is going to be some of their core opportunities and their core challenges. Right? So you can look at the forecast for that. And like I said, I still kind of think that's kind of an accessibly priced product, because you'll charge a few $100s for it or whatever. But it's brilliant, and it's brilliant at positioning. Okay. So this is point 4. Okay. Point 4. Point 4 is a ongoing client relationship. So a coaching contract, a coaching agreement, multiple sessions, you can look at this ongoing client relationship as a one-on-one client, where it's like, we're going to meet together a couple times a month for 6 months. But you can also look at it as a group structure. It could be a mastermind. It could be a group coaching program. It could be a class that's delivered in a certain way, whatever it is, right? So when you structure your business so that your steps 1, 2, and 3 are all bringing people to point 4, this is where your business starts to become stabilized financially. You can't really get to 4 if you don't have 1, 2, and 3 in place to some degree, right? It's very tricky. So because number 3 gets you clear on your gifts and modalities, builds that relationship with your client community. And then number 4 is like, okay, we're not going to solve these problems in 1 hour together. Oh, you want love? Oh, you want health? Oh, you want business support? Okay, there's steps involved. It's a 6-step process, and I teach it in my group mastermind, or I teach it in my group program, or I can support you one-on-one, and it looks like this. So having that step 4, that multiple client, that ongoing client relationship, maybe that's what I should call it, ongoing client relationship for step 4, is critical. And it can be one-on-one or one-on-many. In order for people to feel comfortable saying yes to this, they need to have built a relationship with you first in the first 3 steps. The other thing that's really powerful about using numerology to help you create your step 4 is that when you look at someone's chart, you understand what are their blind spots, what are their pitfalls, what are their challenges, where are they going to sabotage themselves, how are they struggling, number 1, so that as they say to you, I want to find love, or I want to build a business, or I want to get healthy, you're like, okay, being that you're the client that has, let's say, lots of 2s in their chart, or 6s in their chart, you might struggle with people pleasing or compromising your needs. So one of the things we're going to have to put in place is, how do you prioritize your own needs above the people who will pull you off of your goal, right? And it's like, wow, that's not the case for everyone, but it is the case when you see certain influences come up, right? Or someone says to you, I don't know, what's the opposite of a 5 of diamonds goal? If someone says to you, I'm not planning on doing anything different, I'm going to hunker down and nose to the grindstone and just focus, and it's going to be fine. And if I saw a 5 of diamonds in someone's chart for that year, I'd be like, well, nose to the grindstone and hunker down, and a narrow focus, any type of narrow focus when you have 5 energy, is maybe not going to serve you. You're going to end up resisting it and sabotaging yourself. Right? Some people might call that upper limit or self-sabotage or whatever, but really it's working against the energy that's in your chart, right? With a 5, you need to be a little bit more experimental and a little bit more playful, and be willing to try some different things, right? And so that's okay, knowing that you want a narrow focus and your chart is showing be a little bit more experimental, How do we bring that together and bridge those energies so you get what you want with the energy supporting you? And that's like a coaching conversation. That's a healing conversation. That's like working together to come up with some strategies around that, right? So that's 4, is like an ongoing relationship with your client. And again, there's lots of tools you can use to create an ongoing relationship with your client. I just happen to love how whatever other modality or niche you're in, numerology will give you specificity, and it will help you understand. Like if you're a health coach, it will help you understand what's different about me and my ideal clients compared to all the other health coaches out there. If I'm a business coach, what's different for me and my ideal clients than all the other business coaches out there, so that you can niche in and actually speak to the issues that are like, oh my God, that's my issue, right? Okay, so that's number 4. Oh, I'm going to scroll through the comments if you guys have any questions. Micro offers, the $1 to $50 offers, those, in my opinion, I know not everyone's going to agree with me on this, don't make sense until you have a decent list size with a relationship with your list. Because in order to make any money selling products that are less than $50, you have to sell a lot of them. And in order to sell a lot of them, you need an audience that is watching you. So you have to have an audience. If you are happy making a product that is $50 or less and just selling a handful of them, then that's fine. But in my experience, when most people build a $50 product or less, and they only sell a handful of them, what happens is they start to feel discouraged, because they're like, oh my God, nobody wants my beautiful thing that I spent 20 hours building. And it's like, if you spent 20 hours building something, you should sell hundreds of them. Otherwise, spend 20 hours delivering one-on-one readings and make $100 an hour at it, right? Until you have the list size and the audience size to sustain a lower price product. That's my opinion. Not everyone will agree, but that's my thoughts around it. I think they're great, but you need to have the right size list. Or if you don't have a big list, you need to know how to drive traffic, right? So you need to be willing to pay for ads or some type of traffic driving mechanism. They are the $50 offers. Like, I'll buy them. I'll buy them if it's something I want and need. It just depends like where you're thinking of it from. Like, are you going to make money at it? Look at your list size. Look at your audience. Anne-Marie says, I attracted 300 new people who are soulmate clients into my world because of numerology last year. Oh my God, that is brilliant. Micro offers at $55 for a mini reading. Okay, so there's an exception to that, right? Because it's one-on-one. I will always vote when you're starting off with something. I will always vote one-on-one versus like a download, right? So a one-on-one mini reading is better than a digital download, because in a digital download, I'm not building a relationship with you unless my funnel sequence is great, my nurture sequence is great. Like, that's good, that's wonderful. But having a conversation, a heart to heart with someone is always going to give you more traction. So if you, that's a brilliant strategy to do a micro offer, $55 mini reading, build a relationship with someone. From there, they might decide, I want your next step. I want your more expensive offer, or they're in your world. But either way, they now know and love you, and you're not just some random person they bought a download from online. Yes, the strong emphasis on relationships is, I'm all about that. Relationships are literally your number one everything, right? It's so critical. You know, there's this like conversation in business around conversion, right? Which is this idea that, you know, if you send out some training to people and you get a certain number of people, how many people will pay you for the next thing, right? And that would be considered like a conversion rate, right? Or if I have this many leads, how many people are going to pay me for a product? It's so easy to make that number higher based on having a relationship with them. People with low conversions don't prioritize the relationship, and now they've just wasted marketing efforts. A little slight rant on that. Yeah. Also, if you price too low, it can change the perception of the product. That's a good point. So pricing is often a signal, right? And it creates perception on both parts of the buyer and the seller, right? So my pricing has created a perception from me and from you, right? And so it's really interesting to think about pricing in that way, as a signal, as a social contract, a social agreement. Pricing is so much deeper than what we give it credit for. We will be talking about that in Alchemy of Business, by the way. Is it hard to get started? Is it hard to get started? I mean, obviously it really depends who you are and what your skills are. But people get started all the time. So I think the more important question would be like, how much do I want this change? Because if you only sort of want it, it's only sort of going to work out for you, right? If you really, really want it, I have no doubt that you'll find a way to make it work. Choose your hard. Thank you, Anne-Marie. I just scrolled down. Choose your hard. Choose your hard. Working in corporate was really hard for me. Really hard for me. Living an unfulfilling life, also really hard for me. That's like torture. Some people are fine with that level of torture, and that's totally fine. I was not. Yeah, if you want to make it work, you'll make it work. And I think the really important thing to recognize about that is I always want to be transparent that like there was no like overnight instant miracle in my world. Like I worked hard for what I've created, and I think most people do. And I think it does the world a disservice when people pretend that it's like, oh, I just did this one thing and then poof, my business was a huge success. And it's like, well, really, like what other skills did you bring to the table before you did that one thing? What other practices did you bring to the table before you did that one thing? Right. And sure, there's lots of things that can be a tipping point for you, right? But I can identify 5 tipping points for me. It was never one, right? It was like, this was the thing that rocked me forward and got me some traction. And then I did that for a while. And then this was the thing that rocked me forward and got me some traction. And then I did that for a while, right? We're always growing. We're always evolving. Okay. So the 10-year overnight success. Absolutely. So we're on step 4, right? We finished step 4. Step 5, which I adore so much, is repeat and return clients. This is brilliant. I mean, you've all probably heard that expression of it's cheaper to keep a client than to get a new one, or it's easier to keep a client than to get a new one. Well, number one, that is true based on like your relationship building skills, but also your ability to deliver value. People will come back and buy more things from you if they're like supported, if they get value, if you've made an impact, if you've made a difference, if something they received from you made a difference in their lives, they'll come back for more, right? And this is one of the things I love about numerology, is because it's not like you do it once and you're done forever. I can do your numerology chart every week, every month, every year, right? And not a lot of, to be honest, like obviously most people don't care to go into it weekly unless you're obsessed like me. But clients care to go into it monthly or twice a month. And I have other clients who've been coming to me for like over 5 years, up to 10 years, where they will come back every single year on the birthday and get a chart, right? Every single year on the birthday, they get a chart. And it's like, that's so easy and so brilliant and requires no effort on my part. It's just an annual thing they do every year on their birthday. The other thing that I love is and this is probably partly the numerology, but also partly relationship building and the commitment to value and commitment to your community and all of that, is people who took trainings from me back in the early days when I first started are still freaking here. And people who took a free training from me 10 years, I had one client that joined numerology last year. She was at one of the first free trainings I ever delivered 10 years ago. It was a workshop I delivered like 10 years ago, and she didn't buy then, but she stayed in my world. And then she just bought last year. It's like a 9-year sales cycle. But how delightful is that to know that when you show up and you create, nothing is ever lost, right? Nothing is ever lost. Okay. So repeat, return, ongoing clients. One of the things I love about this is like that predictability of like, I have these people who come back every year. And when you do another reading for someone, it's like, oh, this person booked in for $100 reading. Let's say that's your price point. It's never the $100 reading. It's knowing that they have the potential to book a $100 reading with you every year, right? So this is important when you're looking at that step 3, is thinking of like, not just the money in the moment or the value in the moment. It's thinking of like, what's the life cycle value of this client? If this client becomes an annual client who gets a reading every year, this client's worth thousands of dollars. If this client is a client who joins a group training of mine or becomes a VIP client in some way, again, thousands of dollars. And not that we need to look at it from that light, but it helps us to understand why we might choose different price points for different products. Because when we build a relationship, it's not about the $100 exchange. That's great. $100 is great, but it's about so much more than that, right? And then you can build it from that way. Okay. Number 6 is re-engaging clients. I freaking love this. If you are good at keeping track of client notes, which I highly recommend that you do, if you are in a dry spell and you look back at your client notes, you can see who you've done charts for and how long it's been since you've done a chart for someone. And you can say to them, send them a little note and be like, hey, Sally, I did a chart for you a year ago, and I remembered you had these goals that you were working on or these things that you desired. How's it going? Like, did you manifest that? Did you experience that? How did that go for you? Like, give me the updates. And just lovingly and genuinely and supportingly check in, right? And they might be like, oh yeah, it was great. Thanks for checking in. And you're like, great. That's another friend. That's another connection. Or they might be like, oh my gosh, like, thank you. That reading made a huge difference and it really impacted me. And you might say, oh, thank you. Like, can I use that as a testimonial? Boom. Now you have a testimonial. Or third, they might say, thank you. I want to book in again. And you're like, great. Here's my calendar link, right? It's so easy to follow up with past clients when you have numerology. I've never had someone say my reading was bogus or untrue. That's never happened in 10 years. No one's ever said that to me before. I had a guy at one of the markets who walked by my booth like 10 times and he would like kind of look. And then as soon as I'd like make eye contact, he'd like walk away. And I was like, what's up with this guy? And finally he comes over and he's like, I just think this is all bullshit. And I'm like, okay, like you don't have to get a reading if you think it's all bullshit. He's like, yeah, but I'm really curious. I'm like, so get a reading. Like, I'm not here to convince you one way or the other. And finally he was like, okay, I'm going to get a reading. I'm like, okay. So I gave him a reading and he was like, wow, that's really cool. I'm like, yeah, like, cool. Glad you liked it. And off he went. I never heard from him again, but that's fine. Like, I'm not here to convince anyone of anything. And maybe that's why nobody complains to me that my readings are bogus. If it's not for you, it's not for you. And that's totally cool. Like, if you think I'm crazy and nuts for thinking numbers mean something, then totally cool. All good. I'm not going to take that personally. If I genuinely had a client invest with me and who came to me and was like, Megan, like, this is not working for me. This is a real problem. Then I would be like, okay, let's sit down and figure this out together. What do you need? What is the problem? And then we just create a solution. So I don't know, like, maybe that happens to people. It's never been a situation that's happened to me before. And it also helps, I think, in your experience. So when you've done readings for people, and this is where the buddy readings and the reading swaps come in handy, you start to build your own confidence in this. And you're not walking around with an energy of like, oh, people might think I'm bogus. You're walking around with an energy of like, this changes people's lives. Like this is very impactful, right? And as soon as you carry that energy, you're met with that energy, right? Like it becomes part of how people perceive you, right? Yeah. That's such a good point too, right? There's a million companies selling bullshit products everywhere that people buy. A million. Okay. That nobody cares that they sell products that don't work or that are lying or that are false advertising or that are pure wrong. And I'm thinking like, I don't even know, like Top or candy or junk food, or, I mean, I don't know. There's a million products out there that are not actually that great that people sell all the time and make a lot of money and don't care. And you care. This is the difference. You care. You're not going to purposely harm your clients, right? You're not going to do that. So, I mean, obviously, if you want to, you can offer people a refund if it were to show up. But yeah, I'm not in the business of convincing anyone. 6 is re-engaging a client. Yes. Embodying numerology has given me confidence, and the people are asking for readings more than ever. That's the thing. When you start to see how powerful it is, you can't help but like feel more confidence in your abilities. Like when it's so obvious on the page in black and white, you know, the numbers are there, and then you have the experiences of being like, oh, you know, I see this element in your chart, and you know, how is this a struggle for you? And this is another thing. I mean, I teach this when I teach my classes, but I'm not going to tell anyone anything, right? I'm not going to force people to go into a box they don't belong in, but I'll ask them like, this shows up in your chart. Here's an opportunity associated with, here's a challenge associated with it. Have you noticed this? What do you feel? Or I might say things like, oh, you're a ruling number 7. Ruling number 7s are known to get stuck and indecision, and it's hard for them to move forward. Does that ever happen to you? Right? And the person will be like, no, never happens to me. And I'll be like, okay. Won't say anything, but I'm like, usually when someone's like dead against something in their chart, it's something where they're like going through something. And so then you just give them space to go through it. And I've had so many people come back to me later and be like, I hated it when you said that I might, you know, da 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 da. And then a couple months later it clicked, and I was like, oh my God, I've totally created that scenario in my life. Right? So you just never know. Beautiful. Okay, those are the 6 steps. I'd love to know, and you guys listening, what is the step that you want to focus on for yourself in this moment in your business, whether it's like the first step you want to focus on or the next step you want to focus on, because some of you, I know you've got some of these in place. I'd love to hear, what's the thing where you're like, that's the piece I need to focus on. I'll add a bonus in. The bonus is referrals. I had a client who booked a reading for her daughter as a birthday gift. I did her daughter's reading. Her daughter loved it and told her mom how much she loved it. So the mom booked another reading for a niece. The niece loved it, told the auntie how much she loved it. So the mom booked a reading for herself. Then, okay, so that's one referral, booked 3 readings from that same family. Then the mom said, I want to learn this. And she studied numerology with me. And then the daughter said, I want to learn this. And she studied numerology with me. All based on one reading that was bought as a gift. Like that kind of stuff, you know, like if you want things to offer for birthday presents and Christmas presents, like it's fun, right? Okay, I'm looking at the steps. Steps number 1 and 2, beautiful. Step number 1 and 2 are so critical to really just starting to feel like you have a system going on. Yes, I'm in number 5 and number 6, and I joined this in 2020 and 2021. 5 and 6, beautiful. I love that. I am focusing on creating an accessible product. I love that. 1 and 2 for me, beautiful. Every time I think about getting a business going, I get stuck on attracting clients and if I'm good enough. So there's 2 pieces to that. Good enough isn't even something that's up for debate. And this is one of the things I love about numerology, is because you can see your divinity in your chart. You can see how you are meant to contribute in your chart. It's not an accident that you were born with the code you were born. You're meant to share it. You're meant to express it. If you want to build it into your business and get paid to do it, great. If you don't want to, you don't have to. But of course you're worth it. Of course you're good enough. You're infinitely valuable and precious. That is not up for debate. The second piece about attracting clients is a strategy and a system and deciding to do it, right? Attracting clients does not happen by accident and does not happen with the snap of your fingers. It requires a marketing strategy. It requires a system, right? And I will teach systems like that in Alchemy, but also you'll need to like implement the system, right? There's lots of people who will like learn a thing, but not do a thing. And that's different, right? And so there does reach a point in all of this where you're like, what do I want? It's like that notebook meme, like, what do you want? Right? It's not that simple. It's not that simple, but it also is, right? When you make a decision of like, this is the life I want. Like, it wasn't easy for me as a single mom with 3 kids to rely solely on my business to raise my children. It's not easy. It's not simple. But once I decided, like, I asked myself, okay, when I was going through my divorce, I asked myself, I have 2 choices here. Number 1, go back to corporate and do that. Number 2, continue with my business. What do I want? And I was like, fuck, if I don't give every single ounce of what I have to this business, I'll never forgive myself for giving up. So I was like, okay, I'm going to make it work. And there was hard months. It wasn't always like sunshine and rainbows. There was months where I was like, crap, I don't have enough money to pay all the bills this month. I'm going to go into debt right now. And I did. And then I paid the debt off and then I made more money. Right. So I'm not saying it's easy. I know it's not easy. And even with the challenges I faced, I know I still had a lot of opportunities on my side. But we all do. We all have some challenges and we all have some opportunities. And it's a matter of deciding, like, is this right for me? Weigh your risks and decide, can I live with those risks? Right. I had to have like a worst case scenario, which is kind of mind games. Right. I don't know if anybody else plays this mind game, but I was like, if I can't pay my bills, what am I going to do? Right. And I needed to have that like worst case scenario in the back of my head to just like make me feel better. I was like, well, worst comes to worst, I can pick up some odd night shifts as a waitress. Worst comes to worst, I can pick up the odd contract job here and there to cover the bills until I get through this tough spot. I never took a waitressing job. I thought about it a few times. I never did. I did take the odd contracting job here and there, particularly in the early days when I was on year 1, 2, and 3. I would be like kind of feeling the crunch. And so I'd pick up a $2,000 or $3,000 contracting job, and that would just help me get through the rest of that month, right? We all have ways of working around it if we want to and if we need to, and it's a priority, right? And if anyone's like, Megan, coach me through that, like book a call with me. I'll talk to you. I'll help you figure out what your options are. But I had to decide for myself, like, what is it that I want? And it had to be what I wanted. Otherwise, it probably wouldn't have worked. Okay. Do I give a referral special? I don't give a referral special, but I'm not saying that's a good business practice. It's a great business practice to give referral specials, or thank you gifts, or, whatever. I do try to give thank you gifts to people who refer clients to me. Or I might, like, if someone's given me a few clients, I might offer them a free reading or something like that. So yeah. And yes, thank you for that. I do have an affiliate program. So yes, referral for one-on-one readings, I don't give anything for, but I do have an incredible affiliate program where when you refer clients into my group programs, I offer commission to you because I believe in collaborative wealth and I want all of us to make money doing what we love. Yes. Yes, yes, yes. Okay. So that's 100% it. I love what Anne-Marie's saying. I'm transparent about my affiliations. People love it because they would rather give me money than Mark Zuckerberg. I had someone ask me this the other day. They said, Megan, why do you pay people for referrals? And I'm like, well, number one, they're my sales team. Like, if you're out talking about my work, thank you. Right? Like, I appreciate that more than anything. So I'll happily pay you commission. But number two, in marketing, I can market in lots of different ways. I had somebody ask me the other day if I wanted to put an ad in a magazine and it was going to cost me $1,500. I could pay the magazine company $1,500, which, I mean, this person's wonderful. I would totally happily do that. It would be amazing. Or I could also pay a contact of mine, a friend of mine, a colleague of mine, a client of mine, a referral fee for sending clients my way. So there's lots of ways to market. I teach that in Alchemy of Business, lots of the different strategies and ways. I teach the ones that work for me based on the value system I have, but I'll also share ones I don't use that you can use. You just need to decide, is this something that I want? Like, I don't do paid ads, not because I think there's anything wrong with them. You can if you want to, but I would rather pay my clients and friends to send me clients. And I don't understand ads well enough to get a high enough converting ad for it to make sense for me. If you do and it works for you, brilliant. That's a great strategy, right? So it's a matter of really understanding your business, understanding your strategy, and having the energetics aligned. If I were to start paying for ads right now, it would be a money pit because the energetics are not aligned for me, right? If someone were to start an affiliate program and not have their head wrapped around and their energetics wrapped around the whys in their affiliate program, it could also be a money pit, right? There's lots of ways you can put strategies in place that might work for other people and might not work for you, depending on where your energy is behind it, right? So yeah, anyways, okay. So keep going with the questions. I will scroll back and go through them. I want to let you guys know that in the Alchemy of Numbers, you get the business of alchemy. The business of alchemy is the business teachings that I have. So I have a structure that I will walk you through. If you click on the sales page, Tara, if you can drop the sales page in the chat, it's my website /alchemy. It shows you all the pieces we cover in this. If you are starting from zero and you have nothing, I will absolutely tell you the pieces you need to have in place to get there. Right. But again, it's going to be one of those things where you need to check in with yourself of like, will I do the things? Right. And there are people who have worked with me in the past. I have a client who started with me about 2.5 years ago. She worked for corporate, no clients and not really a business before that. She did some yoga stuff before that. She built her business to the point doing exclusively numerology that she quit her corporate career and is now a full-time numerologist. I have other people who already been in business and added numerology to an existing business and increased their income from like $30,000, $50,000 a year from adding numerology in. I have people who have no desire to start a business, but do numerology readings on the side because they like it, it's fulfilling, and it's a bit of side income, and make a few $100s, a few $1,000s a month as a numerologist, or who do it for a period of time because they're like, I'm going to do this for a bit, and then they go off in a different direction, make a little bit of money, try something else. Either way, knowing that the training informed them in their journey and where they're going next, right? So recognizing like that there is these two pieces. There's the numerology piece, and then there's the business piece, because again, there's that personal passion of mine that I want you guys to be compensated, financially secure, supported, if you so choose. Again, you don't have to. We have Q&A calls as well as the structured content. So if you're like, Megan, I tried to do this thing and it's not working, we can talk through it together on the Q&A call. This group of people is incredible because I let you guys come back as much as you want. I have people who've been studying with me for years who continue to reattend the courses and the live calls, who've got brilliant business minds. And so it's essentially being part of a mastermind where we'll all weigh in and say, you know, have you tried this or have you thought of that, and sharing their experiences. So yes, Tara just shared the link. You can click through there. If anyone's like, I don't know if this is for me or not, reach out to me and let's chat, or reach out to one of my numerologists and ask them. The second thing I want to say is I'm going to offer a bonus right now. For the next 5 people who sign up, you will get a private reading with me to kick things off. So I'll do that for the next 5 based on the capacity before we get started, where you'll get a private reading with me for the first 5 people who register. And I'd love to just take a quick second. I have a couple of my numerologists on the call. Do you guys want to share some of your experiences with how it's gone for you being in this training? Get Anne-Marie to start, maybe.
Sure, I can go.
Thank you.
Hi, everybody. I am the person that Megan talks about when she says somebody paid for the course while she was in the course. I fully understand the financial piece of it and investing in yourself and feeling really afraid and scared that it's not going to come back. So when I decided to join, I didn't necessarily have the money for the course. I mean, I did, I had access to it, but I didn't actually have the cash saved. So I really committed to paying it off. It was very important to me that within a certain time frame, I was making money, and I was making enough money to justify paying for it. And I did that with ease because the way she teaches this, it is so easy. It's scary. It is hard, but it's not that hard. I created a link. I think I didn't even have a link at first. I put it out there to my close friends and close family. And I did little mini readings for free just to gain confidence and get to know the material. Then I put it out there to the world, mini readings for $55. Then I put it out there to the world to do full readings for like $111 and eventually bumped up to $222. I now do forecasts for $333. I have integrated all of this into every single aspect of my business. I had a course created before numerology, and this was the missing piece. The course was great beforehand. It was all about heart intelligence and soulful strategic planning in our business and really understanding who it is that we are and what we're here to do. But then when I added in numerology, it was fire. It was so on fire. And not only did it improve that course tenfold, but I also decided to triple the cost of that course, and people didn't bat an eye at paying it. I have clients who have went through that course. Some of them are on the call today, and they love it. And they immediately connect with their soulmate clients by going through it. I love that I get to keep going into the course as Megan offers it as well. Like, the community means a lot to me. The people that I have connected with mean a lot to me. Like, Tasha is a friend. Megan is a friend. Pamela is a friend. Like, we all empower each other and inspire each other and cheer each other on. Kash's mom is now my bookkeeper. So now I have somebody that's like, not only does she get me because she gets her daughter, but like she knows numbers and loves numbers. And like, it's just such a perfect fit. So I've been able to like expand my team because of this. One of the things that I am the most grateful for is the collaborative wealth piece that has come through for me because of Megan. I signed up, and not only did I pay for the course, but the month that I joined, I ended up having a 5-figure month with ease. I didn't work my ass off to get it. And I was like, oh, this is how it's supposed to be. This is what we've talked about. This is what it means to be a recovering A-type. And that abundance just keeps coming through. I appreciate her so much because of being able to be an affiliate. So obviously people come to me, they do these readings, they go through my courses, and they're like, how do you know this magic? Like, there's a lot of people that have worked with me for years. And I have stories like Megan as well, where somebody shows up, I'm like, hey, who are you? How do you know me? And they're like, I followed you for 7 years. I'm like, wait, what? And they're like, I love it. You're so inspiring. And then I decided to book a reading. I'm like, oh, amazing. And people who knew me back in 2015, 2016, they've seen my growth because of numerology, and they wanted to like follow and come along with that. But what I really appreciate is it's so true. Like, if we get a mug, we're like, I love this mug, and I love the artist who made this mug. And everyone's like, who's this artist? I want one of these mugs. We get to benefit from that. And so we should. I'm contributing to Megan's business. She's contributing to my business, and she keeps giving back over and over. When she has too many people that comes through, she offers us the opportunity to do readings for her clients and pays us for that. Like, that is extremely generous. I have done psychic training, mediumship training, and my teachers don't do that for me. They're like, my waiting list is now 3 years. I'm like, why don't you send some of them to us? Like, maybe some of your students, could take some of those clients. Megan's the only one that has ever done that. And so abundance, I just have to say, like, by being in her sphere, you get to borrow her abundance. You get to borrow not only her knowledge and her wisdom and her insight and her community and her inspiration, but abundance comes through as well. I do want to add the piece where I wholeheartedly agree with Megan that you have to decide. And I know Kasha will agree with this as well. She says this quite often, and Pamela too, like, you get to decide, not you have to, you get to decide. So if you decide that you want to make money doing this, you will. You get to decide. If you want to be successful in this, you will. It is work, but there is so many people in this community that will be there to cheer you on to make that happen. And I'm going to end at 11:11.
Boom. Thanks, Anne-Marie. Oh, I just appreciate you sharing so much. Oh, thank you. Kasha, did you want to share?
Sure. And I think I want to piggyback on what Anne-Marie said about having people follow you for eons and then all of a sudden decide to buy. Someone asked about this, and I think it's because, like, at first when I discovered my codes, I was like, that's not me. Either the book is wrong or my birth date on my birth certificate is wrong, because that is not who I am. But the more I studied it, the more I realized, actually, no, I've been someone else. I've been who life taught me to be instead of being myself. And so as I started aligning with my message, my light, my genius, my gifts, people were like, oh my God, she's finally talking what I've been waiting for her to say. And all of a sudden people are like, coming out of the woodwork. So I think that's why. So my name is Kasha. I get to live in Kelowna, which is beautiful wine country here in BC. I work with intuitive leaders and practical creatives and purpose-driven professionals who really have a deep desire to serve from their highest wisdom and trust their intuition and life work, and infuse their life and their work with their spirituality. Like, my people actually want to be famous for what they do in the world. And that information, that specificity for who my soulmate client is, came from this system. Okay. So I'm like the brain behind this, what I call sacred fame, which is the art and science of being seen and well-known and highly paid for being yourself. And then practical Akashic records. That's actually where I started many years ago. Practical, because that's who I am. I figure if you just have a bunch of like beautiful information, it's just information until you actually do something with it. And that's what I love about this system, and especially the way Megan teaches it. Because of her own code, she makes it practical. Otherwise, I'm out, right? If I don't know what to do with it, there's no point. So I love that about Megan. I love that about the community of students that she brings together. How I use alchemy of numbers is I infuse it into all my work, including the energy kinesiology work that I do. That's another, I'm a practitioner of a system of energy kinesiology with my private clients, and I do private sessions, I do group sessions with my students. This information informs how I show up to my clients, because I can look at not only like the energetics of their current year or current month or their soul agreements, but also if they come to me and they're like, I'm stuck, I have no idea what's going on, I can look at information and go into the Akashic records, which is like the vibrational archive of our soul and our universe, and I can ask better questions, which means I can get better information for my clients. And if someone comes to me and says, okay, I'm struggling with this specific thing, we can get even more specific. So it gives me precision. And for me, who, is like practical to a fault, that is worth more than anything. I don't want to just flail around. I want to know exactly how I can show up for my clients, what magic the client in front of me needs. So it allowed me to get specific. What I love even more, and this is kind of magic to me because the universe is magic, is I was studying the Akashic records a long time before I even heard of numerology, or before I even heard of numerology, like the advanced numerology that Megan is offering here. And I knew I had one of those full body, oh my God, I need that. It was like the next breadcrumb. And I looked into it and started studying it. And I realized that actually, I already know a lot of this stuff because of my work with the records. But what this system did is it gave me language. So again, it gave me that precision to be able to explain things to my clients, to help them with more precision, with more eloquence. with more simplicity. So I don't necessarily do strict, what am I trying to say? I don't do standalone readings using this system anymore. I did, and I think it's brilliant, and that's the best way you're going to learn it. I have now infused it into everything else I do, and it has changed everything. It has changed my business like 360 degrees. So if you're on the fence and you need another perspective, I'm so happy to talk to you or talk to the person who invited you in here. And yeah, it's just, I think I'll just stop there.
Oh, I love it so much. And I think this is the cool thing is you can see how it works in different businesses, like Anne-Marie and Kash's business, completely different businesses, but yet they found a way to kind of bring it in and sort of make it their own. I had a question that was asking about, do you need to be certified to join? No, you can join and I will certify you. I have 2 levels of numerology teaching. So joining this one gets you access to both levels because this is like the full everything. So in the past, I've also offered a lower level numerology, which is the one I explained earlier, where it's like back of the envelope calculations. That's not that complicated to do. You'll get access to both. Okay. So you get both of them. So some people have taken the classes as 2 separate classes, but you guys will be taking it as like it's 2 classes, but you'll be doing it all together. Yes. So yeah, another question about the first step to start. So just either reach out to me or reach out to whoever invited you and ask them, and we will make sure we get you going as to what your first step is. You'll book in. I'll send you the link to book in through. And if you're one of the first 5, you'll get a free reading with me. And I will give you the schedule. So you'll block everything off. You'll have access to the digital classroom. You'll get welcomed into our Facebook community. You'll get a buddy. It's going to be amazing. The classes all start. I think the first one is February 12th, if I have that right. It's the beginning of February or middle of February. I think, Farah, did you want to share?
Hi, everyone. Yes, of course, I'd love to. So my name is Farah. I'm from Kuwait, which is in the Middle East, in case you don't know. And I found Megan through Anne-Marie last year in March. I was going through, you could say, the dark night of the soul, but it wasn't just a night. It was about a couple of years. I'm a dentist by day, but I'm also an energy healer. I read tarot, I teach yoga, and I've been doing that for the past 10 years. But when I came to Anne-Marie through our heart-centered leadership group, she helped me understand something on a much deeper level. So I've been in this field for 10 years, but what numerology has connected me to was my soul essence. And most of all, it's given me so much confidence to speak and speak my truth. Where I come from, tarot is basically illegal. So I would do IG lives, and I would show the cards. And then after a couple of days, I would erase it and erase everything that was related to tarot. I had this deep fear of being jailed, basically. Now, I use the card system, regular cards, and I still do tarot on IG lives. And it's the way for me to introduce myself to people. And I discovered that people love tarot reading. I just did a yoga class before I came. And I had my oracle cards with me, and they said, wow, tarot cards. I said, no, these are oracle, but I do read tarot. She's like, oh my God, you read tarot. So there is a huge audience that now I can access publicly just by bringing regular cards. And that has made a huge difference in my confidence. Another thing is the support that I got, the level of support that we have as a community, and all the business training. I've done so many business trainings. So I've done like 500 hours of yoga. I've done like 100 hours of yin. I've done so much training, and every training I have has had business training. But the thing that it lacked was, as soon as the course was over, I got cut off, and it hurt. It physically hurt to get cut off at the end of any kind of training that I did. But with Megan's training, it's ongoing. Every time she releases her programs, I can join live. And even though we do group coaching, I get personal one-to-one support. So it gives me that motivation to keep going on. New ideas we share, we brainstorm ideas. It's been absolutely amazing, to be honest. And it's grown my confidence so much. I also incorporate the numerology. I started by incorporating it into my yoga classes. I would do numerology themed yoga classes. Today, the class that I taught was about stress, and I kept on talking, for example, about the number 4. We do 4 breaths. We put our 4 feet on the ground. All these things are going to ground us. When we're stressed out, it's all about excess energy in our head. We want to be in our bodies. So it's just helped in so many different ways. I look forward to creating more courses, of course, more workshops, which I am planning on launching this year. It's just been really, really exciting. Honestly, the community here is amazing. And I love that we get to continue. I'm a Scorpio and I get attached to people, and I'm just so happy that I don't get kicked out, to be honest. Yeah.
I love that. Thank you for sharing. I know it's the same. I'm like, I don't want you guys to go anywhere. Like, can we please just keep having these amazing conversations and going deeper? And you did reference something I didn't talk about at all, which I will share really quick. One of the things I teach is intuitive numerology, where, like Farah said, you can actually use the deck of playing cards for divination. So there's actually, that's a sort of like a sub piece in what you'll be learning. So there is a fated system where it's formulaic and the number is the number. There's also an intuitive system where you can use the deck of playing cards to do energy readings. And there's different reasons why you would use different ones. So I teach you what those all are, but it's fun playing with playing cards in that way, because you're actually aligning the numerology with your intuition even more when you do that. So it's really fun. Yes, it's amazing. Does anybody else want to share? Does anybody have any questions? It's amazing the depth and breadth of how everyone integrates numerology into their gift. Absolutely. And to Anne-Marie's comment saying, you know, some of the examples that have been shared have been, you know, where we've combined a few different things together. There have been people who've exclusively built their business as a numerologist doing numerology readings. And that one client example I gave in the beginning where she was working for corporate, that's all she does is do numerology readings and run numerology trainings. And that's 100% her business. So if you feel like I don't have any other modalities, it's okay. You don't need another modality if that's what you want. I would say that it obviously really helps if you have some level of ability to, you know, connect with people, to coach people, that kind of thing. That's super helpful. I've taken coaching training because obviously I started as a coach. And I think it's kind of a helpful thing to have. But again, you know, there's everyone starts their journey from different places. So, right. The family charts. So the family charts, there's a few niches where I'm like, somebody needs to do this. Family charts are huge. There is a couple people who do them, but they're not like actively promoting and marketing them, where they'll look at family charts together. Right. So it's like, you know, mom and dad, kids, whatever that looks like. And they'll start looking at how the charts look together, and they'll start to understand why certain families have certain dynamics, why certain children get labeled the way they do. Right. Like, I don't know if you guys had that in your family, but in my family, there was like the smart one, the pretty one, the funny one. Right. Like, we all had these labels, and it's like, well, why? And like, what are these energies? And like, how do we actually see these children for the truth of who they are? And I think I shared this example on day one of how my oldest daughter is a 7 and my son is a 4, and I cannot parent them even close to the same. They literally, I have to use opposite parenting strategies for them. And in the beginning, when my son first came along, I was like, I don't even know how to parent this little guy, right? Like, he's so different than my daughter. And it's huge. So working with families is one. Working with corporate teams or any type of business team, whether it's like, you know, you're building a product together, you're building a project together, like team building skills. So this is a common area where people will use things like MBTI, you know, the Myers-Briggs or the Clifton Strength Finder, or any of these, and bringing numerology into this kind of world would be so amazing. Right? Because understanding, you know, if you're the person who's like the ideas generator, and then you've got the other person on your team who's like, gets annoyed with that and wants to quickly cut to the chase where it's decision-making time, rather than ruffling each other's feathers by having a different approach, it's like, no, this is your job. So this is your jurisdiction, and I'm going to hold space for that, rather than judging it because through my lens, that's not how you do things. Right. And I think this is where, you know, Kasia and I both referenced this about the conditioned way of being. And it's like, when you grow up a certain way, whether it's school or teachers or parents or whoever, they will often teach through their lens, right? So it's like if a person has a certain ruling number or a certain energy influence in their chart, it's like, this is how it's done because that's how it works for them, right? So it's like, it works, like a parent thinking like, well, this works for me, so I'm going to teach my children to do it this way, right? And then what happens is the children take that on, right? And they think, well, that's how it's done. And then they start to subtly make themselves wrong for being different than that, right? For being too sensitive, for being too talkative, for being too whatever story you may have told yourself. It's likely because your primary caregiver didn't have that same influence that you had and tried to convince you to be otherwise, not because they were being mean to you or whatever, but just because they were viewing life through their own lens. And everything looks different when you start to see, well, what's my lens and what's your lens? And it's good that we have different lenses. Like, thank God, I don't want a universe where everything is the same color. We are rainbows for a reason, right? We need all of the colors, but I need to be seen as a blue and be a blue, right? And you need to be seen as a red and be a red, right? And I think that's where things get muddied. And I didn't use this example in this teaching, but I often use it a lot, where we talk about if my nature is blue, but I go around thinking I should look more red, right? I end up becoming this muddled version of myself where nobody can see me, nobody can understand me, my messaging isn't clear, I'm not magnetic because I'm blurry. I'm muddled and blurry and murky, right? And Cassius did a great job of explaining how as soon as she got really clear on what her nature was and claimed that for herself, the murkiness shifted away and people were able to see her in her business, hear her in her business. Her messaging is landing, connecting, clicking, converting, all these kinds of things, right? And whether you use it in the context of business or relationship or friendship, love, whatever it is, any type of manifesting, it's kind of the same thing, because attempting to be a color that you're not, it drops your magnetism, right? You lose that. You lose that frequency. Okay. I love this so much. Okay. I'm going to quickly look in the chat. Interior design. Oh my God. I love that, Jody. Yeah. If anyone wants to know what, what they're thinking of integrating it with, if they need help with that conversation, reach out to one of us. We'll happily chit chat about how we see things could be, or you could post in the Facebook group. Does anybody have any more questions?
I want to just jump in on the question that was about, if your light code stays the same during each human incarnation. So I think, as Anne Marie said, that, yeah, we have different lessons, but I think ultimately, if I look at my history and my past lives, I've always been the protector of books. And so my whole business is around publishing and helping writers. And my code is specifically that my soul client are writers. And so I think that, yes, I think that we have the essence of who we are that comes through in each incarnation, and that we are able to hone those skills that is our essence.
I love that.
And it's fascinating when you start to bring in different modalities like numerology. Like, I look at people's creative cycles with the advanced numerology.
Yeah.
And it helps people to know, like you said, a couple of day one or day two, Megan, that you can look at your chart and know when you're going to publish your book. When is the best time for you to be creative? When is the best time for you to really dive into the writing process? And I just love how everybody uses numerology and integrates it into their business or creates a new business with it. So it's all so beneficial, because it's all about understanding ourselves better. It helps us to see ourselves clearer, and the clearer we are, we're able to help other people with their clarity and their confidence. So
I love that. Aw, thanks for sharing. I know I love how you incorporate it with the creativity cycles. I think that's so great. And this is, what everyone's been talking about, like this idea of creativity cycles. Like Pamela can bring that conversation to one of our calls and say, hey guys, like I want to figure out how to use numerology in this way. Let's brainstorm it. Let's talk about it. Let's test it out, whatever. Right. And this is the benefit of being a part of a community like this is you don't need to figure it out on your own, right? Like we can help you with some of that. Yes, you need to make the decision. Yes, you need to be the implementer. But if you're like trying to figure this out, let's talk it through, right? There's a whole room full of brilliant minds helping you to do that. And then if you like having those conversations of like, what do our past lives look like? What is the culmination? Like, why do I have this influence? Do my light codes last through all my lives, or do they change? Like, why might they do it a certain way or not do it a certain way? Like, these are the kinds of conversations that we'll often end up having, kind of wrapping up calls and things like that, is going deep on things like that, to just ask those questions. I know when I was little, and I'm so happy I've manifested a space like this, because when I was little, I used to ask my parents questions like that. And I think they thought I was nuts. Like, I remember when I was, I don't even know, probably like 5 or 6 years old, asking my mom, why was there people? And she was like horrified by my question, right? And probably went to something Bible related. I don't really remember at the time, right? But it's like that question, like here I am, 40 years later, still asking the same question of like, why are there people? Like, why are we here? What is the point of this? Like, what are we doing? Why are we doing the things we're doing? And really trying to understand, like, what does it mean to evolve? What does it mean to not evolve? Why do we have dark nights of the soul? Like all these kinds of things. And why do we have the relationships we have? And oh, it's so good. Yes. I love it. Yes. And check out Farah's YouTube channel. She's got some yoga. I mean, everyone who's shared things today has public stuff on their social media channels, whether it be YouTube or Facebook or Instagram or whatever, where they share, and Pamela is the TikTok queen over there, where they share their work and their numerology publicly. So you can take a look, and that way you'll sort of get a sense as to like, what are the different ways of expression? Okay. I know I've kept you guys way, way long. I sincerely hope that some of you will be excited to join us on this round. I'm going to keep the doors open for about a week. The doors will officially close next Friday. So if you want to talk to me, I would encourage, Friday the 3rd, I would encourage you to talk to me sooner rather than later so that you have time to reflect on it. I do have, like I said, the charge for the course is $5,000. I do have a 6-month payment program as well as a 12-month payment program to make it stretched out a little bit, if that helps you make it more affordable. And I will offer a free numerology reading done by me to the first 5 people who do sign up. So hop on a call with me, or if you want, chat with any of the other ladies who've talked tonight, or reach out to whoever referred you if you have questions. And I think that's probably about everything I wanted to say. Did I miss anything? Like, should I look at my notes finally at the end of the call? I don't look at all until the end. Okay. You guys are so wonderful. Thank you so much for this time spent together. I appreciate it so much. And I look forward to welcoming some of you in the next round. Mwah. Bye, everyone.